Hi, welcome. This is Angela of Ascended World bringing you element 10 of the course on self-responsibility as part of the Adventures in Wonderland program. And today, as part of this whole grouping in relationships and seeing it differently from a place of self-responsibility, we're talking about interactions with others. So it's how since we did the workbook, how it's our interpersonal skills, comfort and ease in a group or alone, I get along with or poorly, get along well with or poorly with others. I believe others enjoy or dislike my company. Encounters with strangers always go well or poorly. Like that's all the feeling on both sides of the fence, right? So how do our interactions with others go? And when we take this whole belief of victimhood out of it, right? To say, oh well, I can't do anything about how they feel or whatever. It's like, but as we're talking about self-responsibility, and it's really all of our creation, all of our reality is the vibration, is the reflection of the vibration we hold in creation, right? That's the understanding of this whole thing. So when we talk about that, when you talk about it from that perspective, then every interaction we have with others is a reflection back to ourselves. And sometimes it's like a little like jiggle, a little niggle, it's a little like this or that. And it's not a big deal. But when you start seeing a pattern, and sometimes it's, have you ever noticed like if you're irritated, sometimes like you'll have somebody who's irritated around you, or if you're in a good mood, you'll have somebody say something to you nice, that's really nice or something like that. Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes it's funny because there have been times when I've been walking thinking I feel like a scrub. It's Sunday afternoon. I have like, torn up shorts or whatever. I'm running into Walgreens or the grocery store. And I've had it happen so many times where like there's just this fleeting thought of, oh, yeah, I feel sort of ick, right? And I will literally walk by somebody who will stop and say, "You look so radiant today." And I will literally laugh. But because it's like a reminder, it's like my expanded self is saying, remember, you are the divine and you're holding that vibration, whether you think you are embodying that or not. When you truly are committed to that vibration, those little thoughts are little just nicks in it, but that you're overall holding that and you hold the vibration of what's in your purview so that when people walk by they can sense that, right? So it doesn't, so when we have that vibration and when we understand that our interactions are all about reflecting back to us what we have inside of us and what we are working on, the vibration we're holding, then like it's funny because I can't tell you how many times through doing this kind of work, I have actually had interactions or even like, become quite acquainted with some individual that triggers a lot of other people for whatever reason. And I've had this happen like a number of times. And, I'll have all these other people be like, oh, well, this person does this and this and this. And I'll hear it consistently across the board, which the ego says, oh, well, look, it must be true. But that's not the case. What I have come to the place of is saying, you know what, I understand it and I can see it in that person and how they can reflect that back to you. But I obviously don't have that to reflect back to me. So they don't reflect that back to me. And I don't have that kind of interaction with them. And we actually have a really positive interaction in some way, shape, or form. I've had that happen a number of times. And like I've had people get mad at me because I won't like side with them or I won't like mediate for them. And I'll say, the thing to always do is look within yourself. When you are triggered or somebody acts a certain way around you, then it's a reflection of something and some energy that you're holding. There have been times where I have said things or whatever, or after I think, wow, that was weird for me to say that. But knowing it was an interaction of our vibrations. And then, of course, it was something to reflect back to me as well. So when we get to this place of such self-responsibility and saying, yeah, so every interaction is a clue. So to go back to course number 3, which is on guidance, like what's the message, guidance and hidden messages. What's the message on this interaction with this individual here? Like, what is that crying child, saying, where is my inner child crying maybe? Or is there some piece of me that is there to be soothed that I'm not looking at? And this crying child in my purview is actually showing that to me, right? Or vice versa, or look at how happy like a child becomes when they're around me, or an individual becomes. And then, so like what happens is where the ego gets involved, right? Oh, well, look at how special I am because I tend to do that to people. It's like, well, no, but that'll lower your vibration because it's like egoic, right? It's coming to that place of I'm holding that vibration, and like my choice is I hold this vibration in my space, and anything is invited in as long as it'll match my vibration or higher. So some use that as a healing, so to speak, and they just want to be in your space. And in doing so, they let go of the stuff that would be otherwise, and cause them to act a certain way or whatever in their realities. And so then we jive better, we meet vibrationally, and it's so much more relaxing and enjoyable when we have that kind of interface. So, so if we have patterns of like how we get along with people, how people don't understand us, how we judge people, right? I just went through that this morning. Sarah and I actually worked something this morning on the phone, on like something that was just this judgment. And then you're like, okay, so if I'm judging, there's a mirror to look at, right? It all is a mirror to look at. But then it was like, for sure, there's a mirror to look at. So we looked at the mirror for both of us, and it was like, oh, well, yeah, that's because, I have this in me in a place that I am denying it. So therefore I want to project it onto somebody else. And that's why I'm having this kind of interaction with them. And then when I change that, it just slips away, and it changes the entire nature of the connection. So again, like I said, you can end up having a great relationship with somebody that a lot of people don't like. There's there's an individual I know who is a fabulous individual and really lives in authenticity in a way that many don't. And that triggers other people because of what it reflects. Because when you're not in a place of living in authenticity and you see somebody who is, you judge them because you're like, oh, well, look at them and who do they think they are and all that kind of stuff. And it usually is because we're judging ourselves for not living in that authenticity, like things like that. So, or it used to be that way. And then it would be like, well, yeah, well, the thing is to look in the mirror and say, why is that person triggering me? Like, and whenever somebody triggers me, whenever I'm irritated, whether it's my husband or, somebody I meet on the street, or somebody, that I'm having a session with, or just meeting in some public place, I always look and say, what is it from me? Like, what is it that I am triggered by? Because it's showing me something that I don't want to look at within myself. That's the self-responsibility. So on that, let's look at our clearing statement for today. It is with ease, joy, and love that I acknowledge, accept, and embrace my responsibility and empowerment in the creation of all aspects of my relationships, including interactions with others, past, present, and future. So freeing, really, and takes a whole lot less, real estate in our minds. So let's close our eyes, take a deep breath, open our hearts as we step out of separation, back into wholeness and oneness. And we hold ourselves at the vibration where that is our truth. That is from where we exist, create, and experience. Let's go. All right. That was a lot more jiggery than I thought it would be. A little more bumpy, a little bumpy, because we want to give away so much in our interactions with others instead of just saying that's the mirror that they are. So yeah, it's something for us to work on for sure. Post-video affirmation. I am responsible for and empowered by the creation of all aspects of my relationships, including my interactions with others, past, present, and future. So sit on that and then just be very aware of all those interactions and see what they could be reflecting back to you in your own creation. So, and then I'll let you go. Have a great one. We'll see you for the next element. Bye.